Yo, what's going on? It's Charlie McCormack here. Before you watch this video, I want you to know that the video you're about to watch was taken from one of the sections of my full free webinar course for info and coaches in 2025, where we talked about offer and messaging, we talked about systems, tech, and automations, we talked about using AI, we talked about writing the script, and we talked about the webinar follow-up process. Now, if you want to watch this video specifically, because that's all you need to do your webinar campaigns, that's fine. But if you are an info product owner or a coach and you want to watch the entire free training, it's on YouTube. I will link it in the top link in the description. And without further ado, I won't take up any more of your time and I will let you watch the video that you've selected right now.
So far we've got the offer, we've made the messaging, we've built the funnel, we've built the systems, you've got the tech stack, you've got the promo, you know how to use AI to do the promo, you've got the automation set up, you're pretty much promoting the webinar at this point. And now what we need to do is we actually have to create the webinar script, the presentation, and the webinar offer. Now, I told you to select your offer earlier on, right? Because that offer is just the core offer. And I'm going to talk to you a bit more about what's the difference between your core offer and a webinar offer later on in this framework here. But yeah, now you actually have to create a presentation that makes you a lot of money. Now you've got everyone here and you've put all this time and effort into doing it. So how do you actually do this? Now, it's important to know this is not my personal webinar script framework. I'm not going to pretend it's mine. I'm not going to don it and say it's mine, but Jason Fladlien is the undisputed GOAT of offers and webinars. And I will happily admit this every day of the week and twice on Sundays. I'm 21 years old. This guy's like 46. He's been doing it for like 20 years. Obviously, he's going to be better than me. Now, Brunson and Hormozy got a lot of their webinar and offer knowledge from Jason, and he's actually the most mentioned person in Hormozy's book, $100 Million Offers, if you've never heard of him before. Now, the YouTube video that you see above, I use that as guidance for creating our high converting webinar scripts and presentations for my clients. You can feel free to watch this video for yourself. There's the title there after this video, but I'm going to summarize the kind of like the same important points here and how I use it and how I've kind of had my own twist on it, because obviously he has his that works, but a lot of the stuff that he does is relevant to automated webinars, where a lot of the stuff that we do is relevant to live webinars. So I've just tweaked it a bit and I'm going to summarize it all for you anyway. And basically what this part is going to outline for you is the 14 essential sections that should act almost like a checklist in your webinar scripts. Spelled that wrong. And each section is designed with a specific purpose to either engage your audience, address their pain points, present a solution, or convert them into customers. So each part of the script has its own purpose that should act as a checklist, right? And if you don't have just like one of them in there, then just don't be surprised if the webinar does not convert at the scale at which you'd hoped it to, because each of them serve a purpose. And if it hasn't converted, maybe you didn't spend enough time on one of the single things that you missed out on. So here's how to use this template, and like some key considerations that I want you to have in mind when you're actually writing your script is the structure, right? So I want you to use this structure as kind of like an ingredients list for your webinars to ensure that each section is at least touched upon in some point, because each section has its own purpose. Feel free to mix and match the order of them as long as it makes sense and as long as you make sure that everything has at least been covered at some point in the script. Now, read between the lines. Obviously, I'm not going to go through exactly how to write everything because, like I've said here, this is not a copywriting course. This is a framework, and you have to be a skilled copywriter to write a sales presentation like this. This is why my clients hire me to do it, because a lot of them, they're good at what they do, like Amazon FBA or helping people turn their skills into profit or personal brand, but they're not a skilled copywriter, which is why they get us to do it. So you have to be a skilled copywriter. Don't overthink it too much and use your own sales and copywriting skills to make this fit into your presentation. And last but not least, review your script by practicing it alone and with a team member to ensure that there's a smooth flow before you actually turn the script into a presentation for the live event. Now I've got all that off, let me show you what the actual script looks like. First off, we have the hook. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier with picking the right messaging. So the kind of prompt that I like to use here is to cut through the noise, acquire attention and the desire immediately. So for example, how I speedran from 10K, or how I got access to 52 of the UK's best suppliers. That was they were the examples that I gave you for clients that we used earlier. Now, it's of really immense importance, right, that your hook validates the messaging of the campaign and the value proposition. So the same way that YouTube thumbnails and titles validate the content of the video, your webinar hook, the first few slides, need to validate that what you've said you were going to teach them, you are actually going to teach them. So at the start of this video, the title of this is going to be called like how to do a webinar for your info and coaching biz. And when I started this video, I said, this is going to be a guide on how to do your webinar for your info and coaching biz. You've not been pissed off or fucking sent west by someone who said they're going to do something and then they're not actually done it, right? So that's the first thing. If you've said that you are going to teach someone something, make sure you do it, or people will just leave the call. They're not going to be happy with you. So ask yourself, what is the one most powerful thing I can do to draw in the people who qualified and registered? So here's an example that we use from one of Callum Carver's campaigns. So when we told them that we were going to show them how he speed ran, one of the first slides was, why are we all here today? Because I did a series on my Instagram documenting the speed run with a brand new skill. That is what they signed up to learn. Therefore, that is what we are going to teach you. So the second section in the script is going to be the pain section. Now, this might sound a bit dramatic, like, oh, we don't want to put them in pain. But what we do want to do is we want to address the pain that our audience is experiencing so that we can show them that we understand where they are with great depth. So what you need to be able to do as a great copywriter, a great salesperson, and a great marketer is you need to be able to describe their experiences back to them better than they could describe it themselves. So this is the kind of prompt from the Jason Fladian thing, which is wake them up from the nightmare before you show them the dream. They have joined the webinar or the challenge or however you've decided to do it because they are in some sort of pain, and it's your job to relay it back to them, but not to antagonize it too much. We want them to think this person understands where I am and what I'm going through. So we do this by addressing their limitations, their constraints, their excuses, and their limiting beliefs. So if your prospect thinks I can't do this because of this reason, show them they are wrong and show them why they are wrong. So like preempt it and then show them why what they think is wrong. And you can do this by leveraging your story and social proof from others to reinforce this point. So for example, this is another example that we use from the Callum one. I'm just going to use this throughout because it's good for continuity. Here, anyone can start a business by just taking a skill and turning it into a profitable service, right? You don't need to be entrepreneurial minded to start. Most of our students have never run a business before in their life. Can you see there why what I've done is a lot of these people in Callum's audience have never run business before. A lot of them are students, people like myself. I was a uni dropout because I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to do shit like this. And I had never run a business before. I wasn't entrepreneurially minded. I am the ICP. So you don't have to be the kind of person who ran a lemonade stand at school, or you don't need to be the kind of person who sold sweets at school. You don't have to put yourself through that. All you need is just one skill. So meet them where they're at, show them why they're wrong, show them why you're right. The next thing is kind of anticipating what they are going, like tease them. So like by the end of this webinar, you're going to know how to do this, this, and this. So we've addressed their pain points and now we're selling the dream to them, right? Not even selling the dream, we're showing them what is actually possible, right? Because this opens a loop and ensures that we actually keep them engaged to the point where you can actually put an offer in front of them. So for example, if you do stay on this webinar, here's what you will walk away with. Not what you will learn, what you will walk away with, right? This is what you're going to get. You're going to get a clear understanding of the framework, and do this for your offer. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to show them, so they're going to walk away with this, but what will that actually do for them? Like they'll walk away with it, great. What the fuck does that even mean? Like, I want to be able to do something with it. I want the positive outcome of learning this thing. So the example that we've given here, so we've taken the weight off their chest, we've gotten rid of their limiting beliefs, they're now at net zero. So it's time to get them dreaming, right? You already have the skills that you need to get paid right now. So the skills, so because a lot of these people are people who are kind of like my age, like 21, and a lot of them are kind of doing this, or they're going to go uni, or they're going to get a job or whatever. So we're showing them that the skills they already have can get them paid 2 times more than a standard graduate job, which is, and if everyone here just got to 5K a month, which is doable, you can make double the average graduate salary just by doing this. So you can see how we're applying this script in real time to get results for our clients. This shit works. I'm teaching it to you for a reason. And I've used the Jason Fladian thing for a reason. Now you need to position yourself as the only person who can help them get to this specific promise, right? And the reason this is so important, and you already know this is important, you already know how important positioning is and social proof is, but how you position yourself in relation to the thing is more important than the thing themselves. So if Callum was teaching them this, so in fact, I've actually given an example here because I've already written this presentation. Think of an out of shape personal trainer, right? They could give you the best advice in the world, like this set for hypertrophy, you need to do this exercise, but everything they are saying is bullshit unless they embody it and represent it. Don't be an out of shape PT. Be the Chad. So like Jeff Nippard, right? Jeff Nippard's not even in bad shape. The guy's in good shape. But all the massive bodybuilders are like, yeah, just do fucking barbell rows and bench. And he's there lying on the floor doing some crazy lat, pull down, whatever he's doing. So what do? Look how much social proof we are overwhelming them with here, right? This is 12 slides of social proof showing people who signed clients just from the webinar, people from the inner circle, how Callum himself did it, how he did it again. Why has that done that? How he did it again the other day through the speed run. That's an overwhelming amount of social proof, right? And then I actually combined this paradigm section. This is what I mean about how I've kind of put my own spin on it from the Jason Fladley thing, is I combine this section with insight rather than having it by itself after position. So make them think that what they once thought was a limitation is actually a huge advantage. So that maybe, for example, with Callum, we could say something like, the fact they've never run a business before means that they can learn from scratch properly and they've not got like bad habits or anything. If that makes sense. That's an example of how you can change their paradigm. And then what we will do is we will actually deliver the training to them. Now, the training is very important. If you pay no attention to anything in the script, pay attention to this bit because this is the bit that most people fuck up on, right? You need to pick 3 to 5 key things to teach. And you need to explain it in a way that a beginner can understand. Because what you need to remember is you are an expert in whatever you are teaching people how to do. So what will happen is that it will seem simple to you, but it is not simple to the audience. And you can do this by introducing the mechanism, explaining why it's important, and then showing them how they can apply it. The most important thing here is to make sure that the prospect, they do not feel overwhelmed. We cannot make them feel overwhelmed. You need to speak to them at their level, introduce the concepts in a digestible manner, make them feel confident in themselves and the process, and make it seem possible for them. What will happen if you give them too much information is they will just end up feeling drowned in doubt because they don't feel like they are capable of implementing this because you've made it seem too complicated. If you make it seem too complicated, they won't believe that they can do it. And one of the most important things on a webinar is that we need to make people believe that they can do this. So that's how you do the training. 3 to 5 things, explain them at their level, simply but effectively, show them why it's important and how they can apply it. Don't go into too much detail. Now, once we've trained them, we need to now start getting commitment from them. And what I like to do is I want to be getting commitment from them after each of the 3 to 5 sections. So a little recap, open up the chat, ask people how they're doing, summarize it back to them, and then move on to the next. Because you can't sell to somebody if they're not sold on you, themselves, and the concept first. So you need to get someone to the point where they are 100% committed to doing whatever you have just trained them, aka they would go and try it themselves even if they didn't work with you. But then we set up the pitch by saying to them, are they going to do it with their time by themselves, or are they going to do it with you and get there faster and pay to do so? So again, here's an example from a slide. Do you now feel significantly more clear on what you need to go and do? And everyone in the chat will say, yes, yes, yes. And once we have that commitment from them, now here's where we transition into the offer. I will combine this bit with the commitment section because I don't think like on their own that they need to be on their own. I think they can be in one. And this is the gap between the education and the pitch. So the best way to do this and get yourself in a state where you feel like you have given them all this information and you are simply extending an offer to them is by calling back to all the amazing things that you have done for them so far, and then present them with their next steps, which is either to do nothing, because that's one of the options, to try it themselves, which is another option, or to do it with you, right? And you need to get commitment from them that this is actually worth doing for them. And then you begin to introduce the idea of doing it alongside you. So this is the kind of the transition that I like to use for Callum, or this is kind of the transition that I like to use for almost all of my clients, right? Especially if they're doing some sort of high touch point done for you coaching program. So I would say something like, if you want my personal help and my personal time, because there is that intimacy with high ticket, you're not saying like, oh, it's a course. You're saying, if you want my personal help, I want to extend the opportunity to you to work with me to make the rest of 2025 meaningful and make it the year that will change everything for you. Now, I like that wording. There is a reason I have done that. And it's because it's not a hard sell. All we're saying to them is, if you want my personal help to do this for you, because they've seen that you're the authority. They've seen you know what you're talking about in the training. They know how to teach you. They know you can get results. You've broken their limiting beliefs. So you're simply just extending the opportunity. And before I talk about the actual pitch, we need to talk about webinar offers, which I promise you I would touch on later. And here are some of the mistakes I've seen in the past and the problems that I see when I join other people's webinars. Like I said earlier, I'm actively looking at other people's webinars and I can see the problems that they have when pitching. And here are 3 of them. So the first one is that they do all the hard part, which is promoting the fucking webinar, putting their money into ads, putting their time into content, building out everything, only for the offer not to convert. And this is terrible. This is not a good outcome for you, for your time, for your business, for the opportunity cost, right? People end up creating more objections in their offer rather than eradicating them, right? And the whole point of a webinar is to shift their beliefs, make it seem easy for them, eliminate their objections. So after doing an hour and a half, don't get people to snap out of that state that you have put them in and make them skeptical again by creating more objections in the offer. This is like the webinar equivalent of talking too much on a sales call after you've just dropped the price. That's like a rule of thumb that everyone watching this video should know. Once you drop the price, you don't say anything, right? That's number 2. Number 3 is that they focus too much on the core offer, which isn't actually a massive reason why people buy on webinars, and they don't spend enough time on the thing that people are actually going to convert on, which I'm going to show you how to do next. So let's not fail at the final hurdle, and let's craft an offer together that is actually going to get people to convert like crazy. Don't hate me, Sabri Subi. So there are 2 components of a webinar offer. You have your core offer, which is the offer that I told you to choose at the start of this free training. I told you to pick the offer that gets people the best results, which is the core offer. This is the product that you sell, and they are probably already aware of this, and this is what they are going to pay for. So for example, your info product, your course, your coaching or consulting program. And this core offer is, if someone was to book a call with you on Tuesday at 1:30 in the afternoon, this is what your sales rep would sell them. But on a webinar, we have the bonuses. Now, if for some weird reason you have not been offering bonuses in your webinars and you have just been pitching your core offer, this is going to be one of the main reasons why your webinar hasn't been converting the way that you want it to. And the bonuses are the things that we are giving them for free in addition to the core offer for a certain reason. For example, an additional one-to-one call with you. For example, extra resources, extra templates, or extra material. So now we've got that. Here's how we present the core offer. The core offer is what people pay for. Show them a brief overview of what they pay for, but enough that they see the value in it. You want to keep this brief because most of the time, this offer, they will already know about it. Some people might even have been on the phone to you and spoken to you about this offer. And this offer is available for them anytime to purchase, which is why the bonuses are where the real selling begins. So here's an example. The Inner Circle. This is where we introduce the coaching program. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It's an intense 3-month mentorship with the goal to get you to 5K a month with a business. And this is more than possible, right? You introduce it, you tell them what's in it, you tell them what they get, and then you tell them the price, and you anchor the price like any good salesman would. And I like to do this by showing, here's what it's worth to me. So how much your time is worth, especially if it's a coaching program. Here's what it's worth to other people, which is what other people have got via the results that they have from working with you. Here's what other people charge for this. This is optional. So I'm going to put some stars there. And then here is the deal because of valid reason. Do not create fake scarcity in your core offer. Your prospects are not stupid and they will sniff out fake scarcity when they see it. And your job on a webinar is to handle objections, not to create more objections, which is why I don't like discounting the core offer at all. And if we do it, it will be a tiny bit, like 20% max, right? Because what I prefer to do is make the bonuses insanely valuable and then we make them free and we make them a limited time bonus, right? So we'll tell them the price. And then this is where the real selling begins. And the reason we have bonuses on a webinar is because when we tell people the price, people are programmed to say no in their head as soon as they hear the price straight away. And the bonuses are how we slowly turn the no's into yeses. So we show them what they're going to get for free, and we will give them 5 to 7 really, really great bonuses with a high retail price, but the retail price is eradicated because they are free for this webinar. Now, when going about creating bonuses or picking what bonuses to use, you should go by this rule of thumb. Your bonuses should kill objections. So there should be a reason why that a thing that someone has in their mind that this bonus helps with. They should be really big. They should have a big desire, or they should be dramatic. And if you're not sure what to add as a bonus, you can basically, what you can do is you can pull parts of your core offer and present them as a bonus. But in order to create really valuable bonuses, you ideally want them not to be able to be purchased anywhere else, right? Put social proof after each bonus, save the best bonus for last, and use the second best bonus first. So for example, here is how we introduce it. To celebrate the completion of the second speed run, the time for action is now, which is why I built an exclusive offer, which is only for people who are here today. And you're going to get given access to these bonuses for no extra cost, completely on the house. And here are some examples of bonuses that we used. And you can see here, these cannot be accessed anywhere else. There is no option for lifetime membership, because these bonuses that we used here cannot be accessed anywhere else. And then once we've given them the bonuses, we're still trying to turn that no into a yes. The bonuses will have done most of it for us, but then we eliminate any remaining objections by giving them a guarantee. So why is it better to buy the thing than not to buy it? What is the risk involved and how can you deal with it? So what I like to do is I like to flesh out to them the worst case scenario if they work with you, and then show them the real worst case scenario if they don't take action. So the guarantee is here. So for example, you will stay inside the inner circle until you make 5K a month, or you have an ROI within the first 3 months, right? And it's an action-based guarantee. So we show them, it's better off for you to work with us than not to work with us. And then this is the big thing that I was talking about at the start, where most people fuck up, is they create fake scarcity. They will just, for some reason, tell their audience that there is 10 spots left, or there's like 5 spots left. And it's like, why is there 10 spots left? Like, can you give me a legitimate reason why there's 10 spots left? They probably don't have one. So the scarcity needs to be legitimate and believable so that it doesn't create another objection. And you can tie this into the bonuses. So for example, one of the bonuses for the webinar we did for Callum was that they got access to the inner circle event, right? And there is only 11 more people who can have access because there is already existing members who have got their ticket and the room has a capacity, right? And there's also a reason why there's a deadline. So it is only available until Sunday night, because you need enough time to book transport for the event. And so Callum can finalize the booking. Like, that is actually real. There is a reason why not everyone can do this. And we actually showed them the screenshot of like the WhatsApp chat of everyone saying like if they were coming to the event or not. So to recap, you might want to take a screenshot of this or watch the video back, but here is the flow chart of the script and how we do it. Like this here. Now, a little bonus here is how to handle the Q&A section at the end, because usually at the end of a webinar, you will answer the questions that the audience may still have. And this is like the webinar equivalent of objection handling on a sales call. So it's not something that we just want to tag on to the end and rush. Now, the reason I've included this bonus is because Jason Fladley in Script does not address this, as his is mostly tailored towards automated webbies, which obviously does not have a Q&A because it's just a long VSL, and automated webinars, in my opinion, are kind of fucking stupid because you can tell they're just recorded within 5 minutes of watching them. Rant over. But Despite many of the main objections being front loaded, and we handle them at the start of the webinar, which is one of the biggest advantages of doing a webinar, we are never going to get things right first time. And there is always going to be questions that people have, bespoke questions or just general questions that we didn't address. And that's just the nature of it. So recently, what I've been doing with the clients is I've been putting more thought and actually taking more time into implementing better strategies for the Q&A section. And what we started to see happen is a few things. We started to see the conversion rate, the booking rate going up despite minimal changes to the presentation itself. We also keep a lot more goodwill. Like, the people in the Q&A section are really grateful that we're answering all their questions, because like, the audience doesn't feel like they've been sold to. The people who booked, they booked and left, and the people who stayed, like, they feel that you don't lose that goodwill. And because you don't lose that goodwill, more low ticket offers are sold. So the audience who can't afford but stick around, we will sometimes give them the Q&A and we'll say, like, look, guys, I know that some of you can't afford it, which is true. So if you're interested, DM the support or DM me and inquire about this other offer. So we keep the goodwill, so then we can then make another offer to them and increase the amount of cash collect we do from the webinar campaigns. But the problem is that most people who do webinars treat the Q&A as an afterthought. They just tack it onto the end if there's time left. And some of our recent Q&As have been like half an hour, which is like, if we're doing a 2-hour webinar, half an hour on the Q&A is a quarter of the entire call, right? And what people do is they wing it by answering questions that pop into the chat and then just maybe not even answering all of them. But this misses a massive opportunity, because what we will now do with our clients is we will use the questions that are asked at the end as a feedback flywheel, and we'll also get our clients' team members involved in the webinars. And I'm going to show you how to do this now. So the Q&A matters more than you think, because basically what the Q&A will give us is unique insights into what objections people, they still have objections at the end of this webinar. So that tells us what objections we failed to handle during the main presentation. So it addresses the actual objections, not ones that we just assumed and put in. And this is especially if it's your first attempt, you should be paying massive attention to the Q&A at the end, because instead of guessing what is holding people back from buying or booking, you're dealing with the exact concerns that is stopping people right now. And if you want to pay major attention to this, this is my thesis, right? One question and one answer that you give someone in the Q&A section might just be the difference between someone paying or booking a call. So every question needs to be treated with care. Now, here is my reasons why you should be paying more attention to the Q&A section in your live webinar. So when one person asks a question, it's almost guaranteed that at least a dozen other people are maybe wondering the same thing, but they're just not putting it in the chat, right? So by answering the questions publicly and taking time with the Q&A, you're now not just overcoming objections for one person, you're overcoming objections for the entire audience. So therefore, every question is worth answering, because it's not just exclusive to that one person. You might answer a question and get 3 more people paying or booking, which was massively worth you literally just answering a question. Number 2 is that you actually get to demonstrate your expertise under pressure, because, like, right, real talk, anyone can deliver a rehearsed presentation like I'm doing now. This is a free course. I'm just delivering it, right? But answering questions on the fly is what shows that you truly know your stuff, just like you would want your closers to be able to do. Except the guru is presenting. And when the guru is presenting, because you're the guru doing the webinar, people already have an information symmetric bias with them. So they think that whatever the guru says is true. So the guru is objection handling, and you get to demonstrate how good you are and how much expertise you have, right? It also builds a really good connection, because this is where you go from just talking to them for an hour to being like a trusted advisor and expert. And it gives you a second chance to present your offer and show them that you truly understand why your product is superior. So for example, you answer a question and then you can say to someone, yes, we handle that in the program, and then they will either go and buy or they will either go and book. The last thing, yes, the last thing is, how do we turn even more no's into yeses? So when we tell people the price, their first reaction is almost always no, because people are going to think, oh, that's a lot of money. That's why when we tell them the price and then we give them the bonuses and then we give them the scarcity and then we give them the urgency and then we give them the guarantee, the Q&A is the final piece of the pie. And over the sequence of these events, the way we structure it, we just turn that no into a maybe, and then we get them to ask questions, and then the maybes turn into a fucking big fat Yes. Now, here's how to make sure that you don't actually mess up the presentation itself, right? And this is what we've started implementing with our clients. And you have to practice it beforehand, not just once, but multiple times. So, what we do is we will get them to a mock run by themselves, and then we will get them to do a mock run with us. So they learn the slides, they can master the tonality, and they don't just sound like a car salesman who's just been to an Andy Elliott event, right? Is this time consuming? Yes. If your webinar's an hour and a half, yes, it's time consuming. Will you make more money and do a better job on the live event if you do this? Yes, you will. And if you want to make more money on the live event, which I assume the answer is yes, then are you going to practice the webinar before? I really hope your answer is yes. And just to prove this, Russell Brunson actually did, I can't remember where I saw this, I think it was one of his YouTube videos. He looked at everyone who was doing webinar funnels, which is like automated and live using ClickFunnels, and figured out what separated the people who had the best conversion rates to the people who were just doing okay. And it wasn't the offer, it wasn't the script, it wasn't the presentation, it wasn't the amount of people there, it was how well they presented. Now, what do you actually want to create the presentation on, right? You can create on a Gamma, which is what I'm using to create this right now. It's called gamma.app. You can go and get a free account and you can do it on this. You can do it on a Google Doc. I know people like Serge Katari do this, or you can do what most people do, like we do for our clients, and we do it on a presentation builder. So this could be Google Slides, this could be PowerPoint. I personally do ours on Canva because it's really easy to use. You don't need to pay for it or anything. And it also has really good design features. So depending on whatever market you're doing, like Gamma might be good for like a mid-sophisticated market, Google Doc maybe for a sophisticated market, and for B2C, I would usually go with using a presentation builder so you can really hit like slide after slide after slide and really make the maximum impact on them. So you've got the presentation, you now have everything there, but now you are actually on the call. And it's just because you are on the call, there are still things that you need to consider to make sure that nothing goes wrong at the last minute, right? Now, the first thing that I would suggest you do, actually, this is on the call when you are live, especially in a B2C market, you are always going to get people asking like weird questions, borderline stupid questions, and there are almost always going to be people in there who are saying things that are going to throw you as the presenter off. So people will say all sorts like, you're a core seller, put the fries in the bag, bro. Nice try, Diddy. You know, the average internet bullshit, right? So, or like this whole thing was just a picture. So keep your cool, bat them off. Or even better, what we do for clients is you can get a member of your team to join with a presenter link and they can moderate the chat while you're presenting, right? We do this for our clients. This is our job when we're actually on the webinar, right? So our standard procedure is to mute the chat while you are actually doing the training and especially the pitching for most of the webinar, right? So we open it up at the start when everyone's jumped in to show that there's loads of people in there. At times when you want people to interact, so for example, if you're doing the Q&A or you're asking people to get that yes momentum after when you're transitioning into the pitch, that's when you should open up the chat. And if you have ever been on a live webinar where they have the chat open while they're presenting, it is insanely distracting. And you literally might as well just be speaking into a dark void, right? It's the equivalent of trying to teach a class of children while they're all talking and throwing rubbers and pencil sharpeners at each other. It's impossible. Do not do it, right? If you're in a B2B or a more sophisticated market, sure, you can keep the chat on. It's not terrible. B2C, listen to this advice or you will learn the hard way. I absolutely promise you, right? So here's a fun little fact or an anecdote. On a webinar that we did for a client, this was like one of the first ones I ever did. He showed the Canva link by accident and because he was sharing his screen and people actually started going on the slides and deleting them. So I had to go onto Canva really quickly, make a duplicate copy and send him the new link to then screen share and then get rid of the link in the fucking thing so people didn't go back on it. And yeah, that's why you should listen to this advice. Now we're going to start to talk about the follow-up here just as a little introduction, but here's how you can actually use your sales team on the webinar. So you can make sure that your follow-up is as good as it can possibly be. So on webinars, we will actually get our clients to get their appointment setters and their closers to join the call, right? And here's why we do it. We do it so we can get them to join and they can answer more technical questions in the chat if needed. They can also keep a note and write down the names of the people who seem mega engaged and are asking lots of questions for follow-up. So they can go and find them in the CRM and hit them up and say like, oh, I saw you were asking this, or I saw that you were doing this. It also keeps the conversation flowing at the end if questions are slow, to give them more time to have more people fill out the application. And also, the closers can ask good questions themselves and send the links to apply or pay if people start asking for them in the chat. Like, we will do this for our clients because we will send the links to the application and whatever as them, as the presenter, so it looks like they are doing it. But the most important part of this is that if they are going to be taking calls with the leads, so this is for the closers and the appointment setters, to be fair, they need to know what the leads have literally just consumed so they can use it as ammo and they're not left in the dark on the call, and they can understand what frame they are coming into. And for an example of this and why this is important, if a prospect gets on the phone and starts asking about a bonus, the sales rep needs to be aware that that was part of the offer that was made. Or the prospect might start to doubt things. Like if the prospect says, oh, I really wanted access to this, and the sales rep is like, hold up, like, I'm not sure about that, it's going to completely throw the frame off. So we don't want to give them any reason to doubt, especially after they've booked in, especially after they've watched the webinar, and especially after we've gone to all this effort to make the webinar campaign work. If you want us to personally implement the exact system that we've just shown you and more, and do this fully done for you, there's a few options. You have our number one option, which is our flagship fully done for you webinar build, where we build everything for you. Literally everything you saw in this video, we do completely done for you. All you need to do is film the stuff we need you to film and turn up to the webinar. So we need to do the VSL, the reels, put out content, whatever, that we will write for you. You can use this system again and again and again and again, usually every 30 to 45 days, and we will handle everything every single time, and we will iterate and improve on every single webinar for you. Most of our clients stay with us for upwards of like 4 or 5 webinars and counting, because they're just going to keep working with us because we make so much money doing this for them, which is why that people usually opt in to do our fully done for you service. Or if you want a custom offer and you don't need everything, or you just want parts of it, you want us to build the funnel, the systems, write the script, do the presentation, consult with you, whatever it is, you can book a call with me for a custom offer. I will leave the link in the description. And if you're not ready yet and you just want to see more of what we do, you can join our newsletter, subscribe to our channel, and you can see more of what we do through these YouTube videos or on our newsletter, where I also turn this into written format and give you even more source, and also tell you exactly the results that we're getting from our campaigns. So that was the free webinar course. I hope you enjoyed it. Go and either opt into the newsletter, get in touch with us for a custom offer, or if you want us to implement all of this with a guarantee of 30 to 50K being added in 90 days, go ahead, book a call, work with us for our full done for you offer, subscribe to the channel. I love you all. Bye-bye. Woo!